I'm not sure. The kind of man that I would be a rugby fullback. I find touch, she find touch, we both find touch together. We'd be alright in the middle of the night, finding touch together. If I were the marrying kind, which thankful I'm not sure. The kind of man that I would be a wing three-quarter.
This is Initiate the Contact here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. I am Stephen Murray with the head coach of the Newport News Rugby Club, who gets a big win on the road this past weekend at Virginia, the coach, Dayle Runner, and star of the round robin sitting in the background, the Ant-Man sitting in the recliner back there if you listened to us on Sunday morning for football previews and picks. Coach Dayle, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. I'm just ready to talk about our win, talk about some MLR, maybe a little Six Nations or what have you, whoever on that point.
Which is completely over with.
Right.
I mean, what's there to talk? We can talk about it in 2 seconds. Ireland won.
Ireland won.
Or will win, or, basically they're going for the Grand Slam as long as they beat England. Well, on St. Patty's Day, of course, right?
Right. How
the day after.
But I'm just saying, I wanted to bring up a couple things on that because I saw a couple of plays that I want to bring up to my younger players. And then obviously the MLR, it's hard to keep up with it, man, but it's very good to keep up with because I watch a lot of plays. And like I said, I think a lot of people overcoach this game in America. And it's really, when they do that, these people start thinking too much and then they end up having a horrible team and they can't figure out why they got a bad team. But anyway, we're going to get into that. And I'll talk about my victory and everything a little bit later, but what's on tap first, Mr. Steve?
Yeah. And also, a little bit later is our Down on the Farm segment. We'll definitely get into Newport News a lot then, and our guest. You hear about him every week if you've been listening to the show. Our guest will be Johnny Law over there from Newport News Rugby. We've known Johnny for a long time. He's the guy who even got Dayle into rugby. So we'll get Mr. Law's thoughts on some Down on the Farm subjects. Okay, let's go through the Major League Rugby schedule, Dayle. You brought up a good point. As a former coach myself, formerly coaching the Old Dominion women, Virginia Beach Falcons at the very beginning, and their sevens teams. I was always for being a creative play caller, and I saw a lot of creative plays watching MLR here in the last few weeks. And I'll ask you a question or two in reference to that and some strategy in a second. Okay. But let's go down the scoreboard. NOLA gets their first win of the season, and they do it very nicely at home against New York. They win 31-5. So the NOLA Gold gets a win in the check mark in the box of the win column. How about that? Seattle undefeated now. That was the battle of undefeateds with Houston, but Seattle holds off Houston nicely, 24-12. I know I've played in a few 24-12 games, Dayle. You feel like you have a good game when you do that. You hold the opponent just a couple scores. You get it's not like your offense blows up itself. You want to get 37 points, 42, obviously, or whatever you can. That's 60-0 wins. I think we've all been on either side of a huge win or a huge loss at some point.
Oh, no doubt.
Right. But 24-12, in fact, that was my first college coaching score. Old Dominion women against the VCU women. We had 12, and they had 24 in my coaching debut. And literally, it was their winger who got 3 scores, and we basically played them, I thought, even, except for the 3 times she was able to get around the corner. So I remember that too. That was a cold, windy day. I think 32 degrees and windy. But let's see. Toronto, they get their first win at Chicago, 27-26, and what was the closest game of the weekend, obviously by a point.
On the road at that, right?
Disregarding the tie, that is.
The Road Warriors, huh?
Yeah, Toronto. They, now, I don't know, Dayle. You're going from Atlanta to New York to Chicago over 3 weeks. I mean, you're at least at home 2/3 of the time anyway, right?
Right.
It's not like you're staying in these cities.
Yeah, that's
Now, if the Toronto Arrows have that kind of budget and these guys can get away for that long, then more power to them. I don't think that's the case. That's just my guess.
right. Exactly.
But man, I don't know if they get out of Toronto, obviously with weather here in the Northeast and even here in Virginia with the cold wind, but a lot of snow up north. And Toronto, they're going to get the brunt of a lot of bad weather themselves. So March, a lot more brutal than February in that regard. So maybe they did stay on the road. Not exactly like Chicago's a summer paradise either to go to, right?
Right.
San Diego 22, Dallas 0. So Dallas continues to struggle. San Diego rebounds after their loss, and New England rebounds after their loss at San Diego with a win 34-31 at home against Old Glory. Now, for the games coming up next week, now I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions here, Dayle, here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get the TV for you on the Rugby Network. Know that all these games are on that channel. And then I'll specify if you get any FS1. Let's see here. Anything?
MASN.
These all might be a Rugby Network dealio this week. Oh, no, FS2. FS2 will have Old Glory and Toronto 7 o'clock Saturday night.
Okay.
So after you wrap up whatever you have going on Saturday, you can watch Old Glory and Toronto. All right. But other games, all on the Rugby Network. 3 o'clock Saturday. Most games are on, all but one game are on Saturday, one on Sunday. NOLA hosts Utah. That is 3 p.m. Eastern. So that's your first game. Second game, Rugby Atlanta hosts San Diego. That's a good game. Actually, they're all good so far. They're all going to mean a lot. There will be either NOLA or Utah will get another win if they don't tie, that is.
Right.
Rugby Atlanta and San Diego, that's a matchup of two really good teams right now. Old Glory and Toronto will be same dealio as NOLA and Utah, really. The winner of that game is going to get back into the thick of things here for the playoffs as we're not even really near the halfway mark of the season, just 3 weeks in. I mean, there's still so much rugby left to play, so a lot of wiggle room, really. Chicago, they're going to need a win, and they're going to have the opportunity with Dallas coming to town. All right, so that seems like those two teams are on the same level right now with the results that we have in hand. And then on Sunday, the Iron Workers and the Free Jacks in what is going to be a competitive game. So there you go. You have basically everyone across the standings, the top teams playing the top teams, bottom teams playing the bottom teams. Seattle, they're the best team. They're going to take a week off and relax, and they deserve it after that. Let's see, Dayle. Let me ask you this, strategy-wise. When I watch rugby games, and I like to put eyes on certain players, but I think I'm always watching what the 8-man does, only because I think that was the funnest position I think I ever played was 8-man when I was able to play that. Only because I think you make the 8-man anything you want. It's really the only position. It doesn't even, even the flanker can't break away like the 8-man, right? So the 8-man is the only position in which is a complete hybrid where he can be anywhere on the pitch at any time. I mean, I'm talking back line. He could be with the forwards. And if you have him cutting angles, creating overloads on quick little shift plays or misdirection, something of that sort, then I think any kind of 8-man strategist as a coach is really, really a good coach because he's putting a complete hybrid player into play that can do all kinds. He can kick. Okay. He can, when I say the back line, I'm not even talking about, really anywhere. I mean, before the fly half, between the fly half and the inside center, between the centers, even as far out as out from the outside center to the wings. And then even if you can mix a little bit of fullback in with your 8-man, you can really create some issues. So I've seen a lot of good 8-man play. I know you've played 8-man. So go ahead and tell me the importance of that position in your mind and just How much fun is that position if you make it all that it can be?
Okay, thank you. So my first 20 years I played flanker, and then I moved out to 8-man. Okay, so I was always getting to the breakdowns, stopping the defense. I mean, stopping their offense, with good defense and what have you. And I played some 8-man here and there, but so once I started getting back there, what you can do, there's about 90% positive what you can do from the 8-man and only about 10% negative. And that's where Johnny Law comes into hand with, which I agree with him 100% on this, is like if your 8-man picks it up and gets it to your scrum half, he can mess that up because the defense can get to the gain line. But at the same time, your 8-man, one thing about this, though, if the 8-man picks it up, regardless if he makes a big play or not, you still have possession. Rugby is, and this is any sport, if you maintain possession, you can't lose. So when this guy, the 8-man comes through, let's say, gets kicked back and you pick it up, some people get frustrated with it. But I'd rather him pick it up and get tackled at the gain line and set up the next phase. Or once we start getting over to 50, and like if I can beat their flanker off and I can create plays, so I can create plays with the fly half, the inside center, or I can get it back to my flanker, or we can have, the fullbacks insert. There's all sorts of things that come out of it. You can even pick it up and go to the strong side where the scrum is, and you can drive into them, and then you can start, it's sort of a strategy to pull the backs across the field. So you do it 1 or 2 times in a row, and then you just keep bringing the ball in tight, and then eventually these backs are going to come across. And that's what you want. Then you want to overload them. Then you expose them. So your forwards, you want your forwards to be in better shape than the other team. So if you're in better shape, not just on driving, but flatline defense and post and pillared, your 8-man plays a big key in that because your offense, your great defense sets up your offense. Okay. I've never heard of any great offense setting up defense. That's just total malarkey. It just doesn't happen, really. So in rugby, with that flatline defense, you shut down a team, it gets that gain line, then your 8-man becomes very important because what's going to happen is your backs are going to start getting out of place. Your flanker is going to be guessing, your 8-man is going to be guessing. Then you can expose them if you have all your backs on the same page. And then eventually you can run up 21 to 28 points there in a 10-minute period. So that's where it comes in handy when you can go ahead and start inserting them. So let's say we're playing 10-man rugby and we're bringing it back inside, smashing. So now the defense of the other team is coming over. And then what we do then is we expose them to the outside. So your flanker and 8-man can get in with your back line, with your backs. And then we can insert. Now they don't know what to do because the defense, they're going to either be tired or they're going to be discombobulated. So it usually in the second half, your 8-man is what wins you games at lower levels, like Division II and Division III. Not so much at higher levels because they got too much good defense and everybody's too good for the game in that aspect. But at lower levels, you expose other teams with your 8-man, and that's what I used to do all the time, and I would just beat the flanker off, and then we get overloads. So as long as you got creativity there, it makes a big difference. I have a guy, a couple of them that are really very athletic and open field and everything. And basically, we've won our last 8 games, and we're doing really well with our forwards. I want to give credit to Mark Fisher.
8 wins in the row, Anthony. Did you hear that?
And then
8 wins in the row for Coach Dayle.
And then
Write something down real quick.
So So Gerald Fisher, he's also doing.
His wife's the Pittsburghian.
Is doing great, in the backfield. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in the forwards, getting all our stuff together. So we're doing really well on that. We got 2 sets of forwards. Okay, we're finally starting to get 2 sets of backs. And like I said, 8-man is your outside of your scrum half and fly half who looks the whole field over. Your 8-man, as far as offensively, is your third best option.
Yeah, the one kind of play I liked, I'm going to have to show you one, actually, Dayle, on paper. Maybe you can. I think you got the kind of personnel who can put this fun play into action, to be honest. I'm going to have to give it to you, see if it makes your playbook. All right.
Okay.
We'll do that off the air. We can't give away all the secrets. But I will say this. I do like the little shuffle play where the 8-man will pick it up and the scrum half quickly inserts between him and the fly half as a back. And it might be 1 or 2 steps, but he's giving it to the fly half on a little bit different pace. It kind of creates a quick little instant overload to the fly half on defense because now he's got 1-2 guys, and you can variate off of that potentially.
Yeah, it can be pretty explosive, but also you got to be careful that you don't want to do that unless you got like a good lead, because you don't want your scrum half getting up in there.
Yeah, getting a flankerized for sure.
Right, because
right. But I think this is more of a sneaky catch them off sleep.
That's what
play.
it is. It's exactly what it is. You want to do that, like say you're up by 20 points or something, and the other team's tired. You want to work on that, and that way, if and it works really well, everybody can see what happened, and then somebody will have to, like they'll say, scrum me in. You have to have that other person come in there, and then that's when we overload.
Well,
the backfield.
So you know that, and this is even a good piece for down on the farmish kind of in a way.
Okay.
But when you have a newer guy in the pack, a guy that you're going to put on the pack on a team, right?
Correct.
Sometimes he's almost defaulted to being a flanker, right? And that where you kind of learn, if you're not big enough or tall enough to be a second row or a prop, you're going to end up being a flanker, right?
Yes, sir.
And a lot of these times, these guys will have, they're just out of, not paying quite attention, and a good strategist will see that and take advantage of a flanker maybe not quite aware. And, next thing you know, here we go. We're running around this guy into the back line.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we've been using that forever with Newport News. When we have good sets of forwards, we really work that well. But if you don't have good forwards, like your tight 5 or whatever, and you're losing a ball like that, obviously, no brainer, you're going to lose out on that aspect. So we work on that. We work on the conditioning and the weightlifting. I set these guys up on the off season for 3 months. That's what we did this last off season. They stayed in the weight room, did powerlifting, Olympic lifting, and then we run the hell out of them, because you can never be in good enough shape. Anybody ever tells you that you're in good enough shape, get beat by 50 and tell me. So when you're winning, you're not tired. When you're losing, you're always exhausted. So in rugby especially, it can get out of hand. You can have let's say a 15-10 game, 20 minutes left, and then you give up a score. Now it's 22-10, 22-10. Now everybody's getting out of position. Now it's make it, take it. You take it right back down at them. They score 4 or 5 more tries. Now the game's totally out of hand, 45, 48-10. Everybody's like, man, well, you blew them out. Well, not really. The game was really close until the last 15 minutes, and that's how we exposed them. That's what happens in rugby, especially lower levels. If the team is out of shape, okay, more than likely, no matter how much skill they have, how much they know about rugby, I will preach this to them on my grave. You can have 15 players who have played 10 years, know everything about rugby. If they're out of shape, they will lose to people in shape all day at lower level rugby, because, one, when you're out of shape, you make more mistakes. When you're in shape, you can stay in the match long enough to where you can overcome deficits. So that's what I like about what we got going on right now. So that's pretty much it on that part there, Steve.
Okay, let's go through the standings real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll get onto that, because I want to ask you a couple of things. Standings wise, when you're on a team, kind of early in the season with a lot to play, I'll ask you the different, the winning side of things, what you got to do, and then the losing side, what you got to do. Okay, so 4 points for a win.
Yes, sir.
2 points for a draw.
Right.
And 0 if you lose. You have 1 losing bonus point if you lose by 7 points or fewer. And you have 1 try bonus point for scoring 4 tries or more, as it is worded. Okay. In the Western Conference, Seattle, we talked about them. They're 4-0. They've scored 112 points. They've allowed 55. So they're plus 57 right now on their scoring differential. And they have 17 points total. San Diego is in second, 3-1 overall, 16 points total. They've scored 110. They've only allowed 60. So they're plus 50. That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
Houston, they're the other team that is off this week besides Seattle, 3-1 overall. 111 points scored, 76 allowed. So those three top teams, Dayle, have scored 110, 111, and 112.
That's pretty good.
Interesting. Okay. Allowed 76 for Houston and 15 points total for them. The point spreads have been coming out on Thursday for these games.
Okay.
Just so you know that, Dayle.
Right.
Utah is 2-1. They got some games. They have some games to make up, but 64 scored, 68 against, -4, 9 points total for them. So right now they're 8 points back, if that gives you any kind of reference.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chicago and Dallas are at the bottom. Chicago 2 points, Dallas 1 point. Keeping a close game there.
Right.
Not the try bonus, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, did they get the try bonus? That might have been from the try bonus.
Try bonus, yes.
Yeah,
sir.
last week. Okay. In the other division, the East, New York is your top team. This is anyone's Dale. 2-2, 10 points.
Right.
Rugby Atlanta, 2-1, 10 points. New England, 2-1, 10 points. Old Glory DC, 1-2, 7 points. So really, they could be in first place after the end of the weekend, to be honest. NOLA, plenty of time to catch up with 5 points, 1-3. And Toronto is 1-2, 5 points for Toronto. Remember, Toronto got that sneaky, those real 2 late scores against Atlanta in week 1, which got them that extra little point. We'll see if that comes into play later. Okay, Dayle, in your experience, when you've been on a team that has started off 0-3, what are you guys saying to each other?
Well, when you look at these standings, right? So, I'm a stat guy. But at the same time, stats are overrated. Stats are for Monday morning coffee breaks and trivia contests. They don't win matches. All that garbage. People talk about this guy did this and that, and then they lose by 20. So when you look at these standings, right? So you want to first off look at the defensive teams. So right now, Rugby Atlanta and Seattle have the 2 best defenses. Now, I don't know who they've played everybody. I don't know how good their offenses are, this, that, or the other. But when I look at Dallas, they've given up 123. Okay, so in 4 games, what's that? 32 points a game, okay? So what they need to do, if you obviously – probably the biggest difference in all these teams for the most part is a tight 5 in most of them. So they're probably driving over these guys, winning balls, this, that, or the other, or their scrum half is exceptional.
Right.
The rest of it's it's probably even across the board. All these guys can tackle, but which team is out of shape? Which team is in shape? Even at this level.
Yeah, I see guys walking.
You're walking.
And it close to the try zone when the other team's
right
scoring. They're not even onside.
So NOLA Gold has given up 105, but they've scored 73. Now then you look.
I feel like they haven't played well. I feel like they have played well. Now their losses with score wise may say something, but New England, and that first week. They definitely had what you said. They had the better tight 5 at the end of the day, and right. New England just kind of got – once that snowball gets rolling, it's hard to stop. That's basically what happened to them in that game. And I think a little bit of the same dose of medicine in week 2, but they showed spurts of being able to do that themselves. And they were just knocking the ball on a lot. They were creating a lot of their own mistakes. And that's the most frustrating thing, too. Is when you go 60, 70 meters, a bunch of good phases. Oh, there's a knock on your ball.
Yeah. When we played Rappahannock a couple of weeks ago, we had 9 knock-ons in that game. Against Virginia men, we only had 4. So we corrected that. We worked on that. We had a couple of guys that inexperienced. They think they're doing football dives, this, that, and the other, and get the ball taken from them, or they're trying to get that extra meter, which, I will never question anybody giving 100% and giving effort. So what we do is, like, let's say a guy does that in the game and he makes a mistake. Like, I watched that San Diego game, and they had two guys trying to get extra yardage, extra meters, and he lost the ball.
Right.
And it's like, that was at the end of the game, not at the beginning of the game, at the end of the game when it counted most. And they turned it over. And then what happens then, it becomes a mental frustration. It's like, okay, man, we drove it all the way down here. Now we lost it. These cats came back down and scored. Hold up, we just dominated for 6 minutes. And then a fundamental of experienced rugby, like when you're playing at this level up here, that shouldn't happen. When you got players that have been playing since they were knee-high to a grasshopper, but they could have been conditioning it, could have been a guy being, we call them rugby heroes is what we call them, hero ball. You don't need, and I've been down that road. I've tried to get extra. I've dragged 6 or 7 guys, and then they hold you up and there's a turnover in their scrum. But when you first start playing rugby, you don't know that. And I never had nobody to teach me that. So until Rich Britton came along 10 years after I've been playing, and he sort of, told me to wire it back some, and it made me a better rugby player. But then, so now what I try to do with all these guys, I watch these MLR games, and I watch what they do, and I try to bring that to our club. I watch this Maori rugby club, right? There's a guy that used to be here in America. He was a Maori rugby player, and he taught me a lot, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. Johan was a great guy, and he told me the problem that happens with American rugby in Division 2 and 3, which we'll get into on down the farm segment. But these teams that lost on here, Steve, they basically, the reason they're getting beat is because they're completely out of shape compared to them other teams. It's not because they have less skill, this, that. When you're playing at that level, everybody's pretty much – you might have one better athlete over the outside center, but this guy over here at the inside center is better. So it offsets, if you get what I'm saying. So basically it comes down to conditioning. I bet you if you watch every game this weekend, watch how close they are, and then at the end a team will lose by 2 scores. I say that now, it'll be 5 blowouts. But you see what I'm saying, though?
We have a potential to have a lot of a good slate of games.
Yeah.
And there is something to say about getting I'll say that myself. All right, so the first game is soreness completely. The second game is you're pretty sore. You're pretty sore. You're sore after every game.
Sure.
Especially when you get to our age.
Yeah.
But when you're younger, okay, and especially if you're a prop or second row, it's the neck. And you get that one neck soreness that everyone, unless you play, you just don't know, right?
That's right.
So after that, though, you start to kind of get your feet. I feel like the first 15 minutes were always the conditioning part, where, like, if I get through these first 15 minutes of hard breathing and kind of get used to the flow of the game,
lactic acid goes out of you.
Then I'm in it. Then I'm in it and I'm playing good, and I'm motoring around pretty well.
Right.
So you may see, like you said, these scores tighten up this week just on principle alone. You might, even the teams that were in worse shape, the coach knows that. He's not an idiot. So what do you think they've been doing for the last 3 weeks? Probably trying to get in shape.
But you say that, right?
Right. Yeah, I hope so. Anyway.
You hope that's what it is. But you know what's funny is, so when me and Johnny Law and George started playing old boys, we learned something the day we went up and played Saranac Lake, our first old boys game. We were playing with all these guys that played Division I rugby, Super League rugby. They've been playing for 25, 30 years, all this stuff. But me, John, and George went up there, and I'm not trying to brag on us, but without us 3, we wouldn't have finished in 3rd place. We did all the scoring. We did this. We did that, just like we did in the 60 and over, me, George, and John. So it's all garbage as far as once you've played enough rugby, it don't matter what level you're at, the game. So we get dudes that'll be like, man, get the ball all the way out. Okay, we get it all the way out there, and the guy drops it. And the guy picks it up. Who's going to chase him down? Everybody want to try to be, play New Zealand rugby, South African rugby. Man, stick to 10-man rugby and old boys. Division 2 and 3, and then you can create and add stuff off of it. Because this game is too easy to be losing to people who think they know everything about the game. And it's just, I'll get these guys that say, well, I mean, I played Division 1 rugby. And you come down and it's like, I don't know what rugby you've ever played, but it's like you don't see that, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be tough on these guys, right? Because, like I said, when me, John, and George started playing that, we learned a whole new thing mentally about this game. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
When you're 3-0, you're doing, well, you're living in it now. I mean, I guess this is a good segue into a break, and then we'll go to the down on the farm, and we'll get Johnny Law in here. But if you're 3-0, and it's always weird with the fall and the spring. What is your division record right now exactly?
We're 6-0 right now in the division.
6-0. All right, so you're well beyond this. What were you telling your team when you were 3-0?
Well, what I did when I took over the team, I knew that we had to get more players. When I took over last March 1st, I had 16 players total, but we'd only get 8 to 10 out there because the guys we had running the team before didn't do no work. I'm not going to call them out or nothing, because it's not worth it. It's not good to belittle them, but they don't do the work that I do off site. So what I do is I start recruiting. I get the players out there. And then the first thing I start teaching is defense. Then it comes to conditioning. And then if you're in shape and you can tackle, you need to be in correct position. Those 3 things will win 80% of your rugby games. Anybody don't believe it, be out of shape, be out of position, and see how bad you can get beat. I'm just telling you, it's that basic. And like this last weekend, right, we'll talk about that here in a second, but that's basically what happened. So we'll get into that with Johnny Law and myself on the next segment.
Is Johnny Law playing at all or just coaching?
Just coaching. He's my backs coach. Mark Fisher's my forwards coach. And Gerald Fisher, who's still a little upset at me because I thought he was injured. I love Gerald Duff, man. He's a rugged man.
He'd be a great person to get on here, too.
Man, we're going to get him on here one time, right? But Fish is a good player. He's dedicated. He don't miss no practices. And I thought he was injured
How old is he now? 50?
He's 50. And then Scientist is 48. And they're in better shape than a lot of them guys out there. You know what I'm saying? They obviously ain't got the speed they once had or lateral movement, but when you know where to be at on a rugby pitch, that's what matters.
Yeah. In Division 3 too, your mind can make up a lot of your mind and skill of just knowing the game can make up a lot. I made a living playing Division 3 rugby on the lack of speed, Dale. Let's be honest.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were 3-0, y'all won 3 games, not the last 3. So was this back in the fall?
In the fall.
Okay, how about this? You're getting ready to go on your break. What was your message to your team going into the break, knowing that you had an important spring coming up?
Well, I told everybody, I said, I want you to work out in all season. I'm gonna get you to gym membership for 3 months, which, hey, Gally, I appreciate that. Tell your dad I appreciate that.
Nice, awesome, nice.
Yeah, that was great for us. And I'm gonna get it again in the summer because that's what I did. I told him to work out, be ready. And then when I came out, I'm going to run you to death. But like Johnny Law said, man, we got to work on our mental game. That's our next biggest focus is the mental game because we got the athletes, man. We got plenty of them. But when you get out of your game mentally, you're not going to always just be able to win with athletes. You're going to have to play mental rugby eventually to win.
Mental mistakes will kill you down the road when the games matter the most.
Yes,
we see it every single time.
Right.
Okay. How about we take a quick break and we'll get Johnny Law on here. We'll get to the down on the farm segment. And all that sound good, Dale?
Sounds fantastic, sir.
All right. So this is Initiate the Contact, broadcasting live from Virginia Beach, Virginia, the United States of America, here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. He is the head coach, Dayle Runner of Newport News Rugby. I am Stephen Murray, owner of the company, host of other shows here across the board. Yeah, if you're not familiar with any of our other programming, check it out. We do a hockey show every night at 6 o'clock live. We do soccer on Fridays at 4:20 p.m., a show on aliens every other I'm gonna have to put an alien mask on you, Dayle, and get you in here as a special ringer guest sometime. Okay, we'll be back. Take a quick break. Johnny Law on deck.
I whip it out, she whip it out, we both whip it out together. We'd be alright in the middle of the night, whipping it out together. If I were the marrying kind, which thank the Lord I'm not, so. The kind of man that I would be a rugby scrum half. I put it in, she put it in, we both put it in together. We'd be alright in the middle of the night, putting it in together.
Hey, does your home have algae or stains on the siding? Is there grime built up on your deck or brick patio? Coastal Pressure Washing Services has a warranty of professional services. From pressure washing to window cleaning to deck and fence staining, as well as dryer vent cleaning, you got it all. Call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net. Again, call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net.
Tired of your swimming pools, diatomaceous earth pool filter,
700 tons.
cleaning, green pool.
That's crazy.
We can't move that. I thought this was supposed to be
Right.
clean. Trust.
We can't lose that now.
Pools, water quality, with a
alien.
custom sand filter install. A clean, easy solution for your
Wow,
swimming
man.
pool
Think about
operations. Contact Dependable Solutions
Nice.
at 757-354-5517. Do you want to advertise with Deep End Broadcasting? Send us an email at deepend757@yahoo.com. That's deepend757@yahoo.com.
Know your gambling limits. Don't ever bet what you can't cover. Wagering on sports is only fun when you do it the right way. Not every bet will win. When you get on a bad run, know it and avoid trouble. Know your gambling limits.
Control your alcohol. Don't fight. Don't drink and drive. Your one punch could kill someone. It happens. If you're behind the wheel, you may think you are fine, but then the other driver is under the influence of texting, and then you are done. Control your alcohol.
Family owned and operated, CP Shuckers Cafe and Raw Bar specializes in delicious cuisine, refreshing drinks, and a laid-back atmosphere. We opened our doors in 1995 and have enjoyed being a place to either relax or celebrate ever since. Whether you are in the mood to indulge in a great meal with your friends and family or watch the game, we promise that our inventive menu, attentive service, and skilled bartenders will have you truly satisfied. Both of our locations have spacious outdoor patios for enjoying the breeze and catching a little sun. Our friendly staff at CP Shuckers will make your next dining experience a pleasant one by delivering personal care. We are open until 2 a.m. Full menu will be served until 10 p.m. and late night limited menu until 1 a.m. For larger parties, please give the location of choice a call. Pacific Avenue, 757-425-8676 or Shore Drive, 757-412-2929. More information at cpshuckers.com. Thank you for your continued support and have a shuckin' good time. Tired of your swimming pool's diatomaceous earth pool filter? The constant cleaning, green pool, cloudy water? I thought this was supposed to be clean. Trust your swimming pool's water quality with a custom sand filter install. A clean, easy solution for your swimming pool operations. Contact Dependable Solutions at 757-354-5517.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
If I were the marrying kind, which thank the Lord I'm not, sir, the kind of man that I would be a rugby scrum half. I put it in, she put it in, we both put it in together. We'd be alright in the middle of the night, putting it in together. If I were the marrying kind.
Good evening on this Wednesday night and on 757 Deep End. How you doing tonight, Johnny Law?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So we got 2 more games before we make the playoffs, sir. and I got a couple of questions. So down on the farm rugby, Division 2 and 3, what do you think's more important? Do you think physicality or being in shape or mentality is more important at our level of rugby?
I'd have to say the conditioning, if you consider that physicality, and mental preparations for our levels are a lot higher than physicality, understanding the game.
Okay.
Johnny, what's up, man? This is Steve. How are you?
Hey, pretty good, Steve. How are you doing?
But, man, you've been playing rugby as long as I've known it.
Right.
I don't know. Go ahead and tell your story about how you started rugby. That'd be a good way to start. And then really, you've been loyal to Newport News for the most part. I know you came and helped out Virginia Beach maybe for a season or two. But go ahead and give a little biography of rugby and your career, if you will.
Well, I started rugby. Well, I was in the Navy at the time. And in the Navy, I didn't even know about rugby at the time when I was in the Navy. But then a Navy guy said we would go out to football season. We just could play sandlot football. We just got to play tackle each other, get a team 5-on-5, 10-on-10, and I thought I was good at it, But I think I was a level of, obviously I was a professional football player, but it's something to keep me in shape and just something to do. And then one of the guys who did play rugby, Rex Decker, who used to play for News, now he's in Michigan. He was always a captain. I was always captain. We'd always play against each other, and it was always usually good head-to-head, good matches. And he said, "How about I just come out and play rugby?" I said, "No, I don't think so, because at the time, like maybe it is nowadays. Well, you guys don't have pads. You guys don't wear helmets, safety gear. I was just worried about flying without protective gear." And he said, "It's totally different. What you're here hitting people without equipment." I said, "You're right. That is a very good point. I'm hitting people without, and I'm driving my shoulder in people, and I had no issues." They said, "Well, just come on, try it." So that was in like 90. Came out to rugby, tried it, and I was immediately enthralled by the overall continuous play and continuous contact, and you had to think on your feet. You had to think when you're tired, which was what I liked over football. Football was a few seconds of play, and then we'd stop. A few seconds of play, and then we'd stop. So that's where I started in 1990. And but then at my size, I was a winger. Obviously, I was considered myself fast, so I was a winger. And gradually, as the years went on, I just gained weight. My feet, it gradually moved me into outside, inside, and
yeah, that's what happens. Lower level rugby. Once you get fat, all right, you're a forward now.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I didn't get that fat, so I at least stayed in the back line.
But John, so yeah, I always telling everybody, I said, Johnny Law used to be the fastest player in the VRU. Now, John get a step on you. As long as it was less than 50 meters, he was gone. But if it was 51 meters, you could catch him because of the conditioning. No, I'm just teasing. But
that's right. No, it wasn't catching. It's the top speed I have. I had the quickness getting from that initial kickoff to the,
Yes.
How about the mountains and the valleys of your journey along the way? You've probably been on some bad teams. You've been on some really great teams. You guys are on fire right now. You're the backs coach, 6-0, and headed for hopefully even bigger things. So you're sitting in a pretty good spot. Man, that's a lot of dues to pay to kind of achieve some kind of great success like you guys are hoping. But, talk a little bit about maybe what you told yourself to stick with the game during some of the low times, and how you kept yourself grounded during some of the higher times.
For the low times, it did, like during the 90s, the team was like, we were reduced to like 7-8 guys at practice, but it was a core of players, it was always the same 7, 8, 9 players, and then we did guys show up to the game. They weren't in practice, but in the game, but those 8, 9 core players I became very good friends with, and a circle from there that helped us get through low times, because even though we'd lose, we'd have fun at the socials, but then those 8 or 9 would gradually form into, each one would get another player, and it would go 10, 11, 12. Then we'd have a complete team in practice. That really was a low time. I really can't say low, because at that time we were more a social club where we didn't care if we won or lose. We just wanted to win the social.
Yeah, well, you just said it. I mean, you're talking about a glass half full there. I mean, because like you said, you made such great friends just from that experience of being bonded because you were that close, that tight unit. I think we've all been kind of in those shoes at some point. I mean, you look around, you don't see many people there, and you're like, all right, guys, it's just up to us. And you do have a lot of fun at the parties, that's for sure. Actually, so, my very first game, I don't think I've ever told you guys this. We played, who did we play? It was a home game, okay? And I think we won pretty good. I think we won whoever we beat, dominating fashion. It might have been like, I don't think it was Christopher Newport. I don't think it was Longwood. It might have been someone like Hampton Sydney. And I'm talking about Radford. Okay, so we won big time. And the party was at our old river house that was down on the river. And you got to remember, you got to put yourself in my shoes as a freshman.
You're talking about the boathouse, right? The boathouse?
No, well, it was behind there, which it was actually not the. So Radford, Virginia, not Norfolk, but we had the bus stop down by the rugby house. So put yourself in my shoes. Rookie, first big game, we win, we go home. I don't know how many kegs we had. There were a ton of people there. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. We had a rugby queen, which still was never duplicated to the greatness of that very first day. So we had Tequila Sheila, the rugby queen. That was my first experience, my first party. I was hooked no matter what. I mean, the B-side game was fun, but the party was like, oh, my God, I've never seen anything like this. Naked people running around, too. We've all seen that at a rugby party. At some point back in the funner days, maybe not so much now. But I was stuck. Yeah. I was stuck on that, too. Johnny, let me ask you this strategy-wise. I'll throw it back to Dayle here in a second. What did you tell your backs, your expectations of them to start the season?
Start of season was we came up from last season, still part of the fall season, and pretty much from the year before that. Our expectations was play as a team, but I'd rather you have more mental toughness than physicality. I'd rather if you get hit hard or someone cheat shots you, if you throw a smile at him or throw the guy a kiss, then you make that team thinking that you're not, whatever they do to you is not going to bother you. And then they're like, oh, this guy must be Superman because I'm hitting him and he's just laughing at me.
Yeah, do you think other teams purposely maybe provoke your players, knowing that they might get them off kilter?
Definitely.
Gosh, I'm not supposed to laugh that hard.
Oh my God. Definitely.
That's our. We won't get into all that, but we had a meeting last night, and that was the main thing we talked about, really. But in the long run, we know we got the athletes. We know we're going to get them in shape. We know we're going to teach them basic rugby, but the middle part is really, you have to have your own responsibility as a person to make sure that, you don't get carried away with the referee, other teams, and make it about them. But we've been wanting to do this for a long time, man. Ever since John recruited me over when we were stationed together at Simo, and he called me out there, and I'll never forget it, man. Talking about the social and having fun. I played the Ed League Cup. That was the first thing I ever did. I played 4 games that weekend. I was so damn sore. I was like, this guy's crazy. I'm coming back out here. I came out the next week, and we actually played James River. And Denny, God bless that man. Unfortunately, he's struggling with that neck and everything after he had that thing. But him and John and Marty, they tried to set me up with old Patty Puddin, that girl for James River. Man, that was the first time I got man in a match. And they tried to set me up with this girl, man. And I didn't know who she was, right? They told me how much fun you can have in these games. I'm like, all right. So I come down there.
The nicknames are great, too. We had plenty to go.
Come on, man. I was like, I see how y'all are. So now I had to start watching these guys but that's where I fell in love with the game. I mean, muscle soreness has never bothered me. You just go to the weight room, work out. That's why I'm able to, still do things, But most people quit doing any working out. And what happens is their body shuts down after like 33 to 36. You're not going to be able to play it what you could up to 40. And nowadays you can play legitimately up to 42, 43 if you work out. You can play Division I if you stay in shape. You know, we got two guys, like I said, about Fish and Scientists. They're 50 and 48, and them two are in shape. You know what I'm saying? They play great rugby. But we got a lot of young guys moving in, you know what I mean? And, you know, one thing about rugby, and John will tell you this, and everybody's played for a long time, man, you got to humble yourself, because it was hard for me, man, because it's like, nah, man, I can't give it up. I'm still better than this guy. But you're not watching yourself. So, like, we make fun of Fish, Scientists, you know, and we got two other guys.
Steve.
Yes.
Dale's phrase is, the older I get, the better I was.
That's a great shirt, isn't it? Isn't that a great shirt? But on a real note, on the rugby side, though, so John, I was telling him earlier, when you, myself, and George, and of course Mike Toole, God bless him, but we first started playing Old Boys, the first time we played in Saranac Lake, we really woke up to how it was really overrated as far as what people know about the game and everything. They didn't really know that much more than us, if you know what I'm saying. Tell Steve and the rest of the audience about our first Old Boy thing and how it really went.
Well, the first Old Boy, you're talking about the Saranac Lake?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Saranac, when we first get there, it's like anything else. I mean, you get to an Old Boys team, they first want to know where you came from. And if they hear you come from a D1, D2, D3, they're going to say, oh, you're D1, then, you know, we're going to start you. Or you're D2, okay, you're D3. Like, well, okay, we'll give you a shot. What I like about the Old Boys is that they'll put you in there, you know, they'll try, okay, you know, he is better than the D1. Let's just start this individual. Yeah, the Old Boys level, they'll give you one shot. They're not going to care if you're 1, 2, or 3. If you're in there and you're a better player, then you'll be starting. But as far as the Saranac Lake, we were, I think that was the one we were at first. Wasn't it like the first game was like a stalemate? We were trying to figure out the team who we were playing with, because we were new to the Old Boys team.
Yeah.
But once we got our timing down, was it the there's 2 games later, we were just blowing them out. We're just going left and right.
Yep.
After you understood how the Old Boys mentality, because at that time we were still playing for the D3 side. We're still playing with the young kids. So going from young kids to guys in their 40s was a big difference. It's benefit for us, because we were in shape trying to run with the 20-year-olds, now running against 40-year-olds, so it was a little different on the good side.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got the Virginia men's game, okay, we won 31-27.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Big
Yeah.
win, 31-27.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dayle.
We try to do structured rugby, keep it down to structured rugby, but and me and John discuss this all the time, but when structured rugby breaks down, do the players know enough about how to make, you know, adjustments to the game to where we still don't miss? And I like what John said this last week. He said on the sidelines, he goes, we really won this game because we had better athletes and we were in better shape, because our system was horrible. We played terrible as far as our system all the way, but we had the better athletes, and we were able to make plays at the end, and we controlled the ball the last 18 minutes. What's your take on that, John?
Well, that is true. The other take is that we went back to that mental toughness. I mean, the guys were making a mistake here, they were getting frustrated and making more mistakes. And Virginia men, they were a smarter team. They had the better athletes, but they were playing better as a team, and they were allowing our guys to make mistakes, stupid penalties, and they're just kicking for points. Kick for points, get the ball back. Kick for points, get the ball back. You know, they're gradually getting closer and closer and closer. You know, until one of our players got another try, and then we got ahead. But I think the pressure. I think it might have been the coaches. I think we're working up the Virginia men's too much. They're really our only competition for the whole season, and the guys just might have got too much stress from them. Who knows? Because they look pretty. Luckily, we had athletes to win the game.
Got a good point there. Yeah, because we got them next weekend down at
Right.
our place.
Right.
We're going to have to, you know, tighten up on a couple of things, few things.
Yeah. So what happens now? That's a must win still, right?
Well, it's not a must win, because all of them are must win. We never want to lose.
Right.
But so let's say if hypothetically, if we was to lose them, then we're going to play them the next week, and then it'd be on point differential to where we play at.
Right. Okay. 10-4.
But if we beat
On
them,
who's home team? Right.
If we beat them, then we'll be at our place again.
And who do you play after that, do you think?
It'll either be North Bay, Nova 3, and there's somebody else. I can't remember.
It's the winner of the, I guess they call it the Central Division. Now I forget what the other division is called now.
Oh, what's the date of that game?
That'll be the 15th of April.
That might be a good test drive for the road show on a Saturday rugby pregame.
Yeah, we play whoever that is. We're going to play them up in Northern Virginia or I don't know where North Bay is exactly. I think they're in Jersey. So we'd have to go up there. And then after that, we'll be off for the next week, and then we'll come down and play in the regionals in Richmond.
Right.
But we, like I said, we just got to correct a few things, man. It's just like that discipline thing, man. We're trying to get that. That's our biggest challenge right now. Me, John, and Mark trying to get that stuff under control. If we ever get that to where we need it to be, we will be like 50 times better. It makes, like John said last night, man, your mental capabilities, okay, you can do all this, but if somebody gets in your head, that's what I used to do playing basketball. I would just mess with somebody's head. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they'd get all mad, even though they might be better athletically on the court. I'd get them messed up. You can
get teams off kilter in any sport.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I made a habit of doing that to other players myself.
Right.
I mean, only because it was so easy.
Yep.
And then, I don't know if anyone really tried to talk smack to me, I would just light them up and then tell them the truth.
So, John, have you ever, in all the years I've known you playing with me for 28, 30 years, whatever it is, has there anybody that's ever really got under your skin other than me, as far as another player from another team that's ever got under your skin?
No, not in the D3 level, not from another team. Maybe like an old boys team, but not for the young team. Never really. Once we play the game, when I walk to the field, I let it go. I don't try not to carry stuff like that. I'll just see them again next time.
Tell me about the old boys stuff though. A little bit dirtier up there, John.
Yeah, just a little dirty. There's just certain guys like the myths and legends. They'll get on. I mean, I try a little extra hard to now. You never try and hurt somebody, but I'll try and do it with the myths and legends.
Yeah. That's another one, right? Me and John beat them the first time we played against them.
Right.
So it was like, I don't know what they see in these guys, right? We beat them, but then we lost the next 3 or 4 times in a row. One time we got shut out. Me and John cussed at each other all game, man. I know my wife was going to kill us, but it was it's been some fun times with us. You know what I mean? And we might think different things, but we, like John said, you got to just leave it there. You know what I mean? In the perimeters of the pitch, can't take it with you. You know what I mean? And once we get that point where we can get that down completely, we're going to be a whole different team.
Johnny, do you have any strange injuries? Like, how the hell did that happen? Or any?
Oh, I do have one injury for people to learn. So we played a young team once. I think it was one of the college teams, and I broke through the line, and I went right at the fullback. He was like half my size. So okay, I'm not going to run him over. It's a college, so let him just tackle me, and then maybe the guys behind me look over. I thought it was my guys behind me, but it was 2 of their bigger forwards. So as soon as I let them just tackle me. They didn't do it on purpose. They stepped on my foot, and they were twisting me down, and that's when I broke my leg. I was like, well, I'm never doing that again. Yeah, I'm never doing that again.
What was the recovery time on that?
Oh, probably about a month. They wouldn't have to break it like the bone between the knee and the ankle, the large bone, the small bone has a spiral crack all the way up to the ankle to the, yeah.
That sounds like a painful one.
Yeah,
it was painful. I said never again.
Yeah, we've played through some injuries, right? My worst one ever, as far as painful wise, we were playing James River one time. We were playing them over to Green Elementary. That's where I'm from up there. And we actually beat them by 5 points on their field. And so we were going into a ruck. And like a dummy, if you're standing around, you're going to get blown out. I tried to hop out of there, right? And it was like 300-pounders holding my leg. And, man, my ACL, I thought I, tore it all the way out. But I didn't actually tear it all the way. I just had a partial tear. I played the whole season on it. I rehabbed it on my own because, my oldest brother was a power lifter, and he taught me how to do it.
I think I rehabbed 18 months of an injury before
I ain't getting this thing cut open, man. But I was 31, 32, whatever. I could do it then. shoot, now, man, I'd be crying, you know what I'm saying? So, got to take care of your body, though.
But the one of the reasons I did stay with rugby back in the 90s was because Virginia Beach back in the 80s when they had their sevens tournament.
Right.
I loved going to that.
The old Michelob Sevens. We actually.
That was national teams. Yeah, would come down. How many teams you had coming down? Yeah.
Oh man, there was so many. So back then, when they had the old Michelob Sevens, I was actually going to Radford. I was in college at the time, and we actually entered a team called the Fighting Eggs, which was all the big boys of Radford. We just called ourselves the Eggs because we're all big. So we were the Fighting Eggs. We went and bought undershirts, like Hanes white undershirts, and we got black Sharpies. We wrote our numbers on the back and then wrote our nicknames above our numbers, okay? So we had Spider-Man and Gruber and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And on the very first kick of the game, my boy Bill Blades, a shout out to him down at spring training. He just sent me some pictures yesterday of him and his girl Katrina down there watching the Mets and the Nationals in Port St. Lucie. But Blades always had this he'd always go, Blades Murray, and that would be the Blades past the Murray. And on the opening kickoff, this was like, for years leading up to this. So on the opening kickoff of the Fighting Eggs, we kicked it off. Somehow we have the ball just in space, running with the ball. I think maybe we kicked a weak side on the kickoff on the sevens game or something like that. So on the kickoff, we went down. My boy Blades got it. And as his contact came up to him, he goes, Blades Murray. And he says it out loud on the middle of the field, throws it to me, and I run it in for the game opening try. And an eruption by the crowd, too, because like you said, there were so many people down there at that tournament. The Michelob.
And then I expecting a big guy to score.
Oh, Princess Anne Park. Yeah. And we rode that momentum all the way to the finals, in which we had to pick up one ringer or one. We had 7 guys exactly. One guy did break his collarbone in game number 2 against the Norfolk Blues, but that was a great game in itself because we went to overtime, and then one of our. I'm not so sure Jake was a ringer or not. This was a Clydesdale division. So you had to weigh 195 plus, but Jake was probably pushing 193 soaking wet, maybe. But we took a pick 6 as they were getting ready to score a try. They were offloading to go into the try zone, but Jake had the wherewithal to step in the passing lane and pick it off and take it back for a 100-meter interception return in overtime for the win to put us into the final. How about that for a score?
That's definitely good.
Yeah. So that was a very memorable tournament, Fighting Egg style. It's funny you brought up that old Michelob Sevens. I don't know if these old tournaments have lost their luster a little bit. I guess they did. I wish people just knew how much fun that event would be because they would have teams from like Bermuda coming over and stuff like that.
I remember I had that one year from Russia where the guy coaches walk around with a leather trench coat in the middle of summer.
Let me ask you that, Johnny. I mean, you've seen new school rugby. You've seen old school rugby. Is there a part of you that misses the old school rugby?
I miss old school rugby because it's more physical. I miss the days of raking because they taught the guy, oh, you're offside. We're giving you a shot to get out of there. Okay, I guess not.
Yeah, the feeding's ridiculous. That's something I meant to bring up, Dayle, when we talked about Major League Rugby earlier. The feeding is just that's nonsense. Why can't we just roll the ball straight down the tunnel again?
Because like everybody, and I preach this all day, everybody wants offense. No one wants
the defense isn't presenting offense. If they can, they can still.
But see, they don't understand that. That's what I'm saying. So they want it fed in there, right? So it can get out quick and they can see offensive rugby. No one wants to see a 10-3 match. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they're promoting. That's what USA Rugby. Every time they get their hands on something, they screw it up as far as all that's concerned. So they need.
But the one aspect of new play, I do like screen pass where you're able to run behind the guy, and as long as you're not obstructing a tackler, that I do like. It's more running play.
Our Radford coach, Coach McTurk, he'd be a great guest for this show. Man, I got a few of them I was thinking of. Coach Steve Lynch, my old teammate. Yeah. He used to be all Navy coach. We need to get him on here. We need to get Mick Turk, Radford University, 2-time national champion.
Right.
We should get him on here. But his strategy to me, and we talked about the 8-man earlier, Dayle, was anytime you're able to take it off the head and steal the scrum, and you did win it on defense, then it was an automatic 8-man pickup. That way you could get your back line into play. And that too, I mean, you have an offensive back line trying to scramble in position. So if you get a 8-man kind of lurking a little wide there, you might find some space.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So that was always a good play.
Yeah.
I just miss the feeding has become ridiculous. Johnny, you have any thoughts on the feeding? I mean, you were talking about the old school stuff. Just carry on a little bit more about that, I guess.
As far as the old school, I mean, the feeding to me, because I'm more an offensive guy because I'm really on back. So, I mean, because you guys are forwards. I mean, you guys are competing for ball. Me, I like the big guys do all the work, and what do the backs do? We just wait. We just comb our hair and we score all the tries, right?
That's true.
So as long as I get the ball more, I'm happy. So if it's feeding, it's plus for me. It's good because it sucks for the forwards because they can't compete anymore. It's really hard. I mean, what's the point of pushing you? I mean, the ball's already on the other side when it comes in. So
All right, Dayle.
that's just more.
Dayle, you got anything else?
Yes. So John and I were wondering. Remember how you did this beach rugby inside the 3-on-3 or 4-on-4?
Yeah. Like the 5-on-5 hockey teams.
5-on-5,
Yeah. With the rolling hockey lines. Yes.
I think
that needs to come back.
we need to get that back.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that was really good. I went down there and played in that. I enjoyed that.
And what happened to that? They were doing. I think COVID killed it or something. But the guy who was in charge of it did such a great job. Did he lose his job with
I don't know.
USA Rugby or whatever?
I don't
We
know.
need to figure that out.
We need to figure that one out and see what it takes to get those balloons or whatever y'all had down there, because that was so much fun.
The inflatable goalpost.
That was so much
Yeah.
fun. I loved that. And John was like, "Why did we do it?" I said, "I forget what they did that weekend, John. What they did, but I went down there and played because I had nothing going on. But we should have had our team down there, man, because it was fun as all.
Yeah. You were part of the Godfathers rugby team, which was
rugby. Yeah,
Right.
a charity team for Nita Meyer, who has passed. She passed away a couple of Januaries ago. So not too long after we raised her money. Hopefully that did well for her in that 6-month time period. God rest your soul, Nita. Johnny, you've been watching any Major League Rugby at all?
No, not much. No, not much. I've been trying to go lower. I've been watching more sevens, the sevens tournaments.
Oh, right.
They had LA, and then they had Vancouver, and then they had I've been trying to keep track of that.
Do you try to take some? I mean, I know it's sevens, but do you try to take some strategy from that for your own kind of personal use?
I wanted for the sevens team when we start the program in the summer. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The new defense. They're getting away from the 6-1. Now they're going to straight 7. Everybody man on man.
So you guys will have a strong sevens program in the summertime.
We did real well last summer.
Yeah.
We went to, what was it, John? 5 of them we went to, I think. It was.
5
Right,
tournaments?
5 of them,
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we had all brand new guys.
Man, I loved coaching that stuff. That was fun.
Yeah, it was.
I missed it. I do miss the sevens. We had too many good players sometimes. Couldn't get them all in.
But what does it keeps them in shape?
Yeah.
It's an easy workout, and it's fun. It's not like just going down, like going to the beach or to the track and doing all that workout. You go out there and have fun, doing it. And because you can't replace playing sevens with just working out. It's a different type of workout.
The highlight of my last sevens season myself was I had to scramble from the far side of the pitch, and this was after a kickoff. But the opposing team, which I think was Frederick, they were working the ball back across the pitch away from me. So the extra running distance for a forward, Dayle, I know you can appreciate that, from say like the 50 after a tackle. I hit the guy hard on a tackle.
Right.
So I'm coming up off the ground. Somehow we should have the ball, but we don't. They have it. They're running through our back line. They're trying to get phases, and heading all the way to the other far corner. And so I get up around the 50. I have to sprint to the far corner, making my way around to get onside, which I completely did. By the time I got all the way there to the far corner, They offloaded their final phase to one of their bigger guys. And I thought he was going to try to make a maneuver for the corner, and I was just going to try to raise him up. But he looked me square in the eyes and just ran straight down my throat. And I wasn't expecting that so much, but he hit me. He drove me back into the try zone. But from there, I knew as long as he can't touch the ball to the ground, he can't score. So I bear hugged him into me, and I smothered the ball between our bodies. So when we hit the ground, he was on top of me, and he couldn't move. And the referee blew it, held up. Game over. We win the game. How about that?
That's great.
Yeah. John, what's your, as far as you playing in your prime, what was your fondest moment playing sevens?
My fondest moments. I think when we won one of the playoff games, it was one of the playoff games we went to. We at our home pitch and we play against Charlottesville.
Okay.
Was it? No, UVA men's. We play UVA men's. You play UVA men's and move on to the next level. And I think the second close other one is the fact when we played. Who was that team from DC? They're a lot higher than Washington Irish or Pack. And Rich was coaching us, and we were just supposed to be like a play toy for them, and we beat them.
Yes,
that's what that. Yeah.
So my worst loss ever on a rugby pitch was to Blacksburg. We lost to them one time, 91-21.
Because we had no forwards.
I think what year was that? I might have been on the Blacksburg team.
That was like 96 or 97.
That was on the field here in Newport News, correct?
No, we were up there.
Was it really?
Yeah, because we went there social afterwards and we drank. They're like, man, y'all in good spirits. I said, man, as long as you got beer, we're good.
I scored 2 tries against you guys for Blacksburg down here in a big romp. Probably about the same time.
That's because their forwards just either put the ball and didn't put the ball. They would scrum down and take it all the way down the forwards, and our backs never touched the ball. I think I touched it once.
I actually got the old school try when you were able to touch it against the goalpost standing up. Yeah. If you remember that.
Yeah. That game, I really did. The back, we just standing there looking at him and like, yeah, we're not going to ever get this ball.
I know they don't keep stats as far as tackles or whatever in that game. But I'm like, hold up, man. I'm out every one of these tackles, but we're still getting schooled to death. That was a very humbling match, man, because it was like, it's not that they really had great athletes that could outrun you, but their tight five was amazing, man. It was like, outside of that Raleigh game that I played one time, that was the best tight five I ever played against. Man, they could drive so good, and you couldn't do nothing about it, especially when they started mauling. And I remember that's the first time I pulled it down. And the guy goes, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "I ain't letting them score." And he was like, well, "You can't pull them down." I'm like, "Okay." So that's the first time I learned about what you can't collapse them all. And I've been playing about 3 years at that time. But them boys waxed us, man. Because you know what? We played them again at home that year. And we only lost to them by like 10. I'm like, hold up, how did we lose by almost 80 points? And then we come home and we only lose to them about 10. So it's how you travel also. Like John said, man, we used to just have, like these 12 to 14 guys. And then you'd have these weekend warriors, man. They would come to practice. And they'd come out there and, all these guys know everything about rugby but can't play. You ever play with them guys? And we would – like, hold up, man, where you been at all week? Now you're lecturing me on the rugby pitch, I mean, I couldn't stand that crap, man. So, but we went through a lot of pains, and that's why I think with the adversity that John and I went through with all these teams, we had a great team with Rich from 1 to 4. And then again, me, John, and Rich had a team from 14 to 17, and we did well. But other than that, we've always been average at best.
Right.
So it's a learning curve, man, and we're enjoying it, man, because we're learning every week how to do this thing.
Well, I think when you guys get to the playoffs, I'll have to do some kind of pregame. I won't take up your time, Dayle, that day, but we'll have to do some kind of coverage on site that afternoon as well. Johnny, you'll get your chance to watch Major League Rugby Saturday night on FS2, okay? When Old Glory DC plays the Toronto Arrows and what is going to be a key game for two teams looking for their second win. All right, so put that on your calendar in your phone, 7 p.m. Saturday night. FS2.
FS2.
Okay, all these other games are on the Rugby Network. Download the app. It is free, people. So you don't have to pay any money for it. It is free. And if you're local to any of these venues, then go check it out. NOLA Gold has a great venue in the gold mine down in New Orleans. They have the old baseball stadium, like Doc told us a few weeks back. They'll be looking for their second win against the Utah Warriors. Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Down in Atlanta, the Silverbacks Park, great stadium there. Rugby Atlanta hosts San Diego in a good game, 6 o'clock Eastern. A pair of 7 o'clock games with Old Glory and Toronto, which is the FS2 game in D.C. Boys, we could go there and tailgate if you wanted to. Chicago Hounds and Dallas Jackals as well, 7 p.m. Saturday. And then on Sunday, 3 p.m., on the Rugby Network, when you're sick of watching March Madness basketball, and Dayle is not going to watch it anyway, he'll probably watch rugby and despise it all on social media. Iron Workers will host the New England Free Jacks. And give Coach Dayle a follow. He has always interesting commentary every Sunday morning. He'll give the State of the Union of life there. Boys, it's been past the hour. This has been a lot of fun. A lot of good rugby stuff. And I think like the down on the farm and some of the strategy stuff, I think a lot of the players and coaches, like we talked to 8-man strategy, Dayle, I think a lot of this can be, put some thoughts into some people's heads out there who are tuning in on some different way to do things. So I think in that regard, the show has been very productive in our start. We'll come back next Wednesday. I don't know, any last words, Johnny Law? What do you got?
No, not really. I mean, I like the podcast, and you made a good point about other people listening. Just like way back when I was younger, I thought I could coach. I did know how to coach. And strategies, what to do, conditioning, put it all together. So listening to older people talk who've done and learn from their mistakes, then you might catch a good idea every now and then.
You hear it before, but I think I've always told myself this: if I can just kind of learn a little bit from everyone and kind of mesh it all together, then we probably end up doing pretty well for ourselves. Okay, Dayle, Coach Dayle, any last words? Congrats on the win again.
Yeah.
Newport News going strong. What do you got?
Thank you, sir. I think what we got going on over there right now is a good thing. Whether John was a head coach, I was a forwards coach, or Mark was a back, however you want it, you need 3 people in place because you don't need one person doing it all. Even though you'd like to do as much as you can, you want to be controlling to do it. You got to like I said, you got to humble yourself. And you got to let people do their job because it's going to make your team better. If you got one guy doing it all and no one's giving you any help or anything, man, you're going to fail eventually, especially Division II and Division III. And that's what we're trying to do over there. You know what I mean? We got a good system in place right now.
It takes a big collaborative effort.
Yeah, man. And we're trying to get that going. And we want to move up to the next level. That's our goal here, short-term goals.
All right. Well, we look forward to see how that is going to transpire as we go into the hey, we got this show until July when Major League Rugby ends. So that's going to go the duration of the journey there in regards to Newport News Rugby. Okay, everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. Johnny Law, we appreciate you coming on once again. Coach Dayle Runner, we definitely appreciate you making the trip over from Newport News to the Virginia Beach studios.
No problem.
This is Initiate the Contact. I don't know how many other shows out there cover Major League Rugby. I guess there's a couple out there, but we hopefully will be making a good staple mark with things to come. Johnny Law, we're going to put in our resumes for the play-by-play duties for the Miami team next year that's going to start in Major League Rugby. You down with that?
Oh, okay. I'm down with that.
A good place to retire our old bones down in Florida.
Yep.
Okay, guys, we'll wrap it up. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. Everyone have a safe weekend of practice, safe gameplay if you're on the pitch this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, have a good one. All right.
Which thank the Lord I'm not, sir. The kind of man that I would be a referee, sir. I'd blow on sheep.